Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's State of the Market update, end of July. Oh, July has been a month of the softening freight market. I think we've all heard enough talk about July being kind of this. Is it in free fall, or have we now reverted back? Is the capacity crunch kind of softening, and it's going to continue to do this? There is literally no evidence in previous years that this is the case. I think I've talked about it in previous weeks, referencing the cash shipment index and showing you that shipment volumes traditionally decline in the month of July. This is just a natural, human rhythm in America, where we take vacations in July the 4th holiday. I think is one of the most vacation times of the entire year, next to Christmas week between New Year's and Christmas. So what that means for freight markets is that shippers know that their people are going to be leaving the factories. They know that people are going to be in this space to go and purchase things because they're going to have more free time. So they need to push their inventories out. Carriers are also going to take vacations as well, and that is actually illustrated here. And I've mentioned this in previous weeks prior with the hours of service. So, and what the hours of service 11 tells you is essentially how much drive time utilization a driver is having. And this is kind of an average index that we've developed that tells you essentially what kind of usage. And I'm going to put a moving average on it. It makes it a little bit easier to see. And I'm going to put a pretty tight one on there with a 7-day moving average, just so you can see this impact. Because what this is measuring the drive time utilization throughout the week. So drivers tend to drive more during the middle of the week, and that's what happens. On the weekends, they drive less, and during the middle of the week, they drive more. So I'm going to pull out here a little bit more, give you a little bit bigger picture. So you can see right here, there's a big surge of driving activity here at the end of June as they're covering all this extra shipment volume, and then they take their vacation, and everything kind of dies off. So that's that. The month of July, kind of a cooling off period, if you will. It's a natural spot in the freight cycle, the annual cycle that we've all become accustomed to a point. But it still doesn't mean that the freight markets have died completely. There's still tight capacity out there. It just means that right now we're kind of cooling down from this white hot level, and it's not that unusual this time of year. Now, what I'm going to show you next is one of our new indexes. It's not ours, it's actually DAT's, and we've now pulled in 7 lanes that offer spot market rates. So the one I'm going to show you, DAT VF.LAX DAL. So that is the spot rate as according to DAT, and this is not the normal rate that you see on RateView. It's a little bit different. It's got a little bit more scrubbing done to it, but it does not replace RateView. I should say that much. It is it's only in 7 lanes, and they will also be publishing this rate soon themselves because it is their rate. So what I want to show you with this is the example rate. This is the spot rate according to DAT over the past several years, and I want to show you this little kind of anomaly, if you will. It's not an anomaly, it's a regular pattern, so that would be the opposite of anomaly. Every end of July, early August, we see this little bounce in the rate. So in August 2016, you see this bounce, and then all of a sudden, spot market rate kind of climbs back up. Again, in 2017, it kind of dies off a pretty good bit, and then boom, comes back up. And this is, mind you, this is before the hurricanes last year, which hit Labor Day or around there. And you can see that the market was already starting to take off, and the hurricanes basically amplified that effect. Again, you go back even further. Let's check out right here. You can see it without even trying to look. August 23rd, 2016. Not a great year for freight. Bounce. There it is. And that is a new ticker that we're offering on SONAR right now in 7 lanes. Go to the SONAR website if you want to learn more about that. So in the rest of the country, most of the country, I think we've seen, has been relatively cool and quiet. But I found a market last week, which I check every day, That's the Chicago market because it's one of the bigger markets in the country. And you can see right here, it's got this movement in it. And I'm going to compare it to United States. And what I mean by this movement, I mean it is literally moving in a totally different direction than the rest of the country. You see, the rest of the country is going down, Chicago's going up. Interesting. Very interesting to me. Anytime you have that kind of, in a big market, you have that kind of divergence. And I'm going to use that to kind of introduce you to a new ticker we have as well, kind of show it off a little bit. And one of the things you can now do is check out lanes. And let's pick Minneapolis, for instance. So OTRI CHI MSP is now going to tell you the tender rejection index level from Chicago to Minneapolis. And you can see it correlates pretty heavily with the Chicago market. So again, I now have insight. Minneapolis is part of the same thing that the Chicago market's doing. So let's clear that one out just to clean up the screen and see what's happening in other places. So let's go a little bit longer haul with Atlanta. So outbound tender rejection index, Chicago to Atlanta, it's diverging. So guess what? Not to bother with the Chicago to Atlanta lane. It's not part of this same thing. It's moving similarly to the rest of the country with this kind of cooling. It's still elevated a little bit, but again, you can eliminate that as being a big factor in this movement for Chicago. Try one more before we sign off for the week. Chicago to Columbus, big time market. Let's see what it's doing. Oh, it's way up here. Again, not moving significantly, but it does operate with higher rejection rates than the rest of the Chicago market in general on average. So if I am a broker or somebody like that, I'm probably looking at Chicago to see if there's any potential opportunities. Carriers, I'm doing the same. Shippers, you probably don't have that much to worry about right now, but I'd be watching the Chicago market pretty intensely over the next couple of weeks as we wait for the market to kind of turn a little bit, if it will. So that's all I've got for this week. Be sure to go to freightwaves.com/sonar for further information, and check back next week for the next State of the Market update. Have a good one.